Hey folks, AI is moving fast, but without direction, it's just not very useful. Palantir is becoming the operating system that connects data, AI, decisions, and actions for business and governments. In this video, I'll explain how Palantir software works and why it's like buying stock in Microsoft or Google in its early days. Here are the details. All right. This is a business efficiency software, okay? Uh, Used by governments, okay? Started off as a government contractor, so to speak, for the Department of Defense. And basically, it's evolving into more of a commercial, like business type of oriented software product for companies, okay? So the way to think about Palantir software is that it connects, or you could say impregnates AI into an organization's data. And these days, company data is stored on servers, okay, and cloud-based servers. And a typical company has like different divisions like sales, manufacturing, maybe engineering, etc. And they all have their own separate kind of data. And these boxes over here with the E in the inside represent the employees. And so employees will have specialized software that allows them to, in a sense, go into and query into the data for their particular department. And for example, if the manufacturing division needs information from sales forecast team, they might send an email over to the sales vice president of sales and say, hey, I need the 2027 report in order to, make planning for tooling for next year, etc. So a lot of email type of communication, employee to employee, with siloed, separate, and kind of uh, unstructured company data. So after the Palantir system is employed, in a sense, what we're doing is we're putting a new software layer, in a sense, on top of all of the siloed company data. And any of the large language models can be plugged into the Palantir software system. And then this, in a sense, impregnates and filters down into the company data. And this creates, in a sense, an operating system that the employees can work through. So some of the things that it allows, this software allows, is that it sets permissions for different employees within the organization to give them different levels of control over things like automating processes. Um, so a lot of processes, a lot of the data, maybe it could, you could set up a system, you could automate a system that automatically sends sales forecast data from the sales department over to the manufacturing people. Um, you can set different levels of human interaction in the loop, so to speak. Uh, it offers predictive analytics, so it can look at your data and predict things that will be happening in the future. Um, it is very cleverly designed with what's called one-click restore. So if an employee has been empowered to make certain decisions and it makes a decision that's not right, then it can, just reset it to the prior restore point very easily. Dashboards to be able to, visualize what's happening within the company. Maps, real-time collaboration between employees, and it empowers employees to create low or no code apps in order to, automate things and perform useful work automatically. All right. So going into the weeds a little bit, I'm not going to go through this graphic in a lot of detail, but I just want to state that, before a Palantir system is implemented in a company, you have application programs sitting on top of middleware, and then at the very bottom of the hard of the computer science stack, you've got hardware and electrical power systems that power the hardware. Microsoft, in a sense, that entire Microsoft empire was kind of built on this layer of the business, AI computer stack, and then this, think of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, these types of application programs, and then, humans sending emails with attachments to each other in order to run the organization. So this is before Palantir, and then after Palantir, we put this new layer on top, the Palantir layer on top, and then the blue line kind of represents how data is can be automated and allowed to flow in between the different divisions within a company. And humans are still involved, and it kind of elevates the humans to more of a supervisory type of role in many situations because of the automation. So here are the financials that have recently come out, and this is really, really exciting. So this is based off of the fourth quarter financials that were just released last week, and we have, and this is fourth quarter data over here. The third quarter data was incredibly, incredibly bright. We had 77% year over year growth in revenue, all right, compared to like maybe 10 or 12% for the typical, you know, technology corporation. And then, but in the most recent quarter, fourth quarter of 2025, 93% year over year revenue growth rate. So we have, accelerating growth in revenue. And this thing called Rule of 40, which adds up the revenue growth rate with the operating margin of the company, also grew to, with the number 40 being a really good number for software as a service type business, has grown from 113 all the way up to 127. Okay, so this company is just exploding, in terms of growth. Year over year, customer numbers grew 49%. And then this is also incredibly encouraging. Not only that, but the year over year revenue per existing customer grew 39%. So what really means is that the existing customers are getting more and more value out of the Palantir system, and they're in a sense kind of being, they're upselling their existing customers in order to, you know, uh, deliver more value and to generate much more revenue. So the combination of these two things is incredibly encouraging. And this is all falling into this model that we have basically a company with large fixed costs, and as they add customers, then that leverages those fixed costs over more customers, and it's just dropping, more and more profit to the bottom line. I think the total addressable market for this company is in the trillions, and the current market cap is only $300 billion. So huge runway ahead of it. Little graph that just shows the annual revenue over the past few years, and it's just how incredibly steady this growth has been. Um, I am starting to think that this company looks a lot like Microsoft in the late 1980s. And back then, some people were referring to the situation that Microsoft was in as almost like a revenue bomb, okay, where the growth was just exploding. And, both being software companies and both kind of in a sense adding another layer on top of the software stack, um, there's just a lot of similarities. It's also a lot like Google in the 2000 through 2010, decade of, first 10 years of its existence. And if you think about it, it actually kind of make the similarity to Google kind of makes sense because, Google is all about taking all this messy, unstructured website information that was all over the internet and creating a way of making the entire internet searchable, okay? And when you add that type of value to people and make that, website information accessible, then it adds a tremendous value to society. And so, like Google, what Palantir is doing is making all the messy, unstructured data that exists within the bowels, so to speak, of corporations accessible to the employees. All right, so first 5 years, a little comparison of what kind of return you would have gotten by investing in Microsoft, Google, and Palantir the first 5 years. Microsoft first 5 years increased by about 13 and a half X, okay, 13 times your money. Google looks like it's about 4 times your money first 5 years. Palantir, you know, what, 18 times your investment since, from when it first went public in the first 5 years. So we have even faster growth than either of these two incredibly, incredibly fast growing and successful companies. So, opportunities for future growth. Incremental use cases can be scaled over more and more customers. So every day that goes by, they come up with new ideas for things, issues that can be solved, and then they can just scale those out over, everybody else that's within the Palantir network. Um, they've only just barely scratched the surface for potential business customers. It's like maybe 1% of US businesses currently are using Palantir software. So it's like the opportunity for growth right there just in the US is huge. And I think we are just at the very beginning of being able to, in a sense, plug AI agents, which are, for all practical purposes, can be thought of as like virtual employees, into different jobs and roles within an organization. And with the AI scaling laws moving at such a pace where they're doubling in power about every 6 months, these AI agents are virtual type of employees. I think Palantir is gonna be offering up libraries filled with people that have, virtual versions of people that have skill sets in, maybe engineering or sales or, marketing type skills. And you'll just be able to, in a sense, plug one of those employees in for, you know, your current role, and then just kind of like, in a sense, be promoted in the organization to maybe supervising these AI agents. But the big one that I'm really excited about, and I don't, and nobody that I've seen is talking about, is what I call a Palantir ecosystem, and it has to do with this idea that the same concept behind Palantir for the individual organization, I think, can be scaled out for an entire economy. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Metcalfe's law, we had this idea that the value of a network is, is related to some constant K times the number of participants or nodes in the network to the second power. Okay, so every time you add more people and, more entities into a network, then it becomes much, much more powerful. So it's one of the things that makes things like Facebook such a powerful company. And the way this would work is that, you know, these right here are represent the A, B, C, D represent different companies that do business with each other. And if they all plug in to a Palantir, in a sense, super layer of their, or, that, for their industries, if they all plug into Palantir, then they will be able to set automations and permissions in between different companies. Okay, so the example I have here would be like A is the Ford Motor Company, B is Magna, C would be Goodyear, D is US Steel, and they all work with each other. And if they all get plugged into the Palantir ecosystem, then they can reduce costs, improve efficiency, workflow becomes much smoother between these companies. And any company that doesn't join the Palantir ecosystem, in a sense, would be at a disadvantage. So, if for, I don't know, the company, tire company Firestone, if they don't plug into this system, then they're not going to be able to, in a sense, benefit from the efficiencies and the connections to connect to, Ford Motor Company, etc. So right now is a great time, actually, if you don't have a position in Palantir, in my opinion, it's a great time to buy if this is something that fits in with your risk profile. Um, because as you can see, it's off its recent high of $200 a share, trading around $135. So whether it's socks or stocks, it's always great to buy quality merchandise when it's on sale, which Warren Buffett has said many, many times, and it's one of my favorite quotes of his. So yeah, I have a pretty full position on Palantir. I'm considering if it's, man, I think my position is up around 19% of my portfolio. It's hard for me to buy into a company any higher than that, but if it does drop anymore, I would definitely be buying more. And I just think that there's at least 10 to 20x return available over the next 5 to 10 years with all the opportunities for future growth with this company. So, anyways, once again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is a technology company, and they are plowing new ground in terms of the things that they're doing. And it's going to be the stock price is going to be quite volatile. But as a general rule, it's always best if you're interested in a company to buy low and dollar cost average your way in. And so, anyways, I want to share this information with you. And thanks for watching. This has been Top of Funnel with Jeff Whitaker. Until next time, everybody.